Can you decrease the gain and increase the volume? Can you hear me clearly? Decrease the gain.
Same message.
40th shloka of the 18th chapter. न तदस्ति पृथिव्यां वा दिवि देवेषु वा पुनः सत्वं प्रकृतिजैर्मुक्तम् यदेभिः स्यात् त्रिभिर्गुणैः This entire creation, whether it is an aspect of this world that we can experience and an aspect of world that we cannot experience, Divi Deveshu va Punaha. Definitely Divi is something that we experience. Deveshu, that which we don't experience. All of this, that which has been created, they are Tribhir Gunaihi Ebhihi Syat. They are interwoven with these three gunas. Just to give you a sampler, an example of various aspects. There is a beautiful introductory work on Vedanta called Tattva Bodha, given by Adi Shankaracharya ji. In that, he talks about grossification of all the five elements, which is the prerequisite for the creation to occur. This entire creation has five elements. What are the five elements? Earth, water, fire, air, space. This is why we chant Chinmay Mission Pledge. We stand as one family. Each answer came from one direction. And see, it's simple to understand if you know the sequence of it. It is from either gross to subtle or subtle to gross. If the sequence is remembered. What preordains something is gross and something is subtle? Its vyapakatvam, its pervasiveness. Earth, stone, you put it, it follows Newton's law. A mass of body stays in its state of rest or motion unless external force is applied. F is equal to E is equal to mc square pass. F is equal to mass into acceleration. F is equal to ma. That was the law. So earth stays. And it has two dimensions to it. That piece of rock, it stays there in those dimensions. Water, it flows from higher to lower surfaces. Fire, it has three dimensions to it. It can spread in the X, Y axis, and also it can go in the upper axis. Air is everywhere, and space, that which contains all of this inside it. There is not a single element or single thing in this world which does not have these 5 elements, a mixture of these 5 elements expressing. Different permutations of it. What do you see in front of me? What is this? A table, a lectern. What does this lectern? It's piece of wood. What gives it its shape? Vedanta has a very peculiar way of analyzing it. What gives this vastu its shape? Not just this one, any vastu for that matter, what gives that vastu its shape? It is the fire which gives the vastu its shape. Invoke that fire or remove that fire aspect from it. What remains? Pure ash, carbon. Makes sense? The Agni Tattva, when it is invoked in it and it expresses, meaning it is exhausting the Agni Tattva, what remains is a shapeless mass of carbon. So for this entire universe to be perceived with its grossness, that I can feel, I can touch, I can smell, I can taste, these 5 elements have to be grossified from its primordial nascent condition. So that grossification process, when it happens, of these 5 elements, there is sattvic, rajasic, tamasic aspect. Do you know what is the most sattvic aspect created out of these 5 elements? Our antakarana. Mana, buddhi, chitta, ahankara. That is our main gadget. Our mind is made of the most sattvic. I am not talking about how our mind is right now. Our intellect and mind and chitta, the memory, is made out of the most sattvic aspect of, the subtlest aspect of the 5 elements. It is like somebody who has a very fancy bag. Can you name a fancy brand name of bag? Huh. What?
Louis Vuitton.
I didn't.
Coach.
Prada. Gucci. Versace. The first time I was walking, way back in 2002, I was walking in Miami downtown with a lot of Yuva Kendra members. It's my first time I'm seeing a downtown in my life. So as we were walking, I was reading out everything loud, just to get familiar with things. So the first mistake that I did was, I said blued. There is one particular road which is called Rio Blued. So people around me, they laugh as you are laughing. Yeah, oh my God. It is not blued, Swamiji, it is. It is a French word, so it is boulevard. Then why D? That is silent. Then I should have understood that the group is not very conducive to keep reading out loud. The very next word that I read was a shop which said verses. Everybody again started laughing. Now, V E, right?
Yeah.
VERSACE come from an Indian mindset to read it. Verses. And Swamiji, that is not verses, that is Versace. Okay, fine. Learned that. So you get one of these, and I'm told they are very pricey, very costly. The good thing is somebody gifted it to you. The most cheapest of them, I'm not talking of the knockoffs. The cheapest of them is, how cheap is it?
$100,000.
$1,000. Okay, $1,000, nice, beautiful bag, Versace bag is given. And it's like your pride being carried in that. So you come to the Chinmay mission, there was some puja or something happening, and you sit down with everybody, and at the end there is a prasad being given. You take that banana, and then a song.
I'm going to take her for something.
Where do you think that idea came in my head? That way I'm quite observant. So in that Versace, you put the banana or whatever that was given. It was a Friday evening, the puja ended and the pravachan ended, and you went home, forgot picking it out. Saturday, Sunday it was lying there. Monday you took to the office, and there was nothing much to deal with the insides of it. You left it in your car and went in for a couple of hours, and by the time you came back, the car was smelling something funny. And you're like, what is this? This is you. And then you found the source. Where was it? In the Versace. What was banana on Friday is now a banana squash. It is pulped and it is leaking all over the place, and it is smeared across into the base of your Versace. What would you do? Wash it. The best idea was given in a Balavihar class. There was this kid who said, Swami, the best thing to do with it is empty it out, take a good photograph and put it on eBay. So you try cleaning it up and do all kinds of things. Though it has come free, but it is something that you have been valuing. Right? Similarly, what God has given in this construct for us, called body, mind and intellect, the mind and intellect is made of the purest of the element, the most sattvic aspect of elements. Now it is our choice what we carry in that bag of mind and intellect. So when people blame, people say, what to do, Swamiji, my mind is also, don't blame the mind. Because God has given absolutely a beautiful mind, the most sattvic one. And what have we filled in it? Garbage, trash, stinking one that too. Every aspect of creation, there are these three aspects: Sattvic, Rajasic, Tamasic. I just gave you a sample. Every aspect of creation has these three in it. Now Bhagavan is taking it into the Sattvic, Tamasic and Rajasic aspects of the Varna Dharma. It's another very infamous topic of Bhagavad Gita. Often bashed, seldom understood. What is Varna?
Color.
Varna means color. Varna also has a meaning of classification. Classification based on the texture, based on the Varna. And in the earlier chapters we have already seen, Bhagavan mentions Guna Karma Vibhagashaha Tasya Kartaram Api Mam Vidhi. Of this Varna Dharma, understand that I am the one who has created the Varna Dharma of Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra based on Guna and Karma. Guna, the qualities that we entertain. Karma, the kind of activities that we perform. I was probably in my 8th grade when I chanced upon this particular shloka and the meaning of it. And soon after, we used to have arguments, me and my dad, and he used to be completely frustrated with my argument, irritated. He was working for the government, and all the government employees were, even today, are known as government servants. So according to the karma, Dad, you are Shudra. He used to get so mad at me when I would say that. Guna, based on the quality. Karma, based on the actions we perform. We may have been born in various varna dharma, various varna. In spite of that, what kind of guna that we entertain and what kind of karma that we perform decides what kind of person of varna that I belong to. Is so far clear? Because moving forward there will be more confusion. Forewarning. Okay, the 41st shloka. Brahmana Kshatriya Visham Shudranam cha parantapa Karmani pravibhaktani Svabhava prabhavair gunaihi. Based on the guna, these activities have been divided. And based on those activities, these 4 varnas have been decided. Now we may not be familiar with these 4 aspects. Take any kind of organized existence, any kind, and we will find that these 4 aspects are playing their roles in such organized existence. Every form of government, every form of institution, organization will have these 4. Sometimes unmindful of or not being sensible, some of the jokes that I have heard are very, very painful. One of the jokes that I heard from one of my Balavihar kids, Swamiji, a question for you. Okay, what is the question? Why are there no Mexicans in Olympics? They already know the joke. You have heard those jokes? Come on. Because it's a series of answers. Because Grand Theft Auto is not a sport. Because lawn mowing is not a sport. Because building houses is not a sport. It is very mean jokes. But that reveals something to me. Now when you look at such jobs which I just mentioned, Who is the main workforce there? So there is what collar job do they call it? Blue collar jobs. Menial physical labor jobs. In every organization, there is such physical labor intensive jobs. Yes or no? Even in a country, there are such physical intensive labor jobs. Skilled laborers. Then comes all those who are into the marketing, advertising, management level. How many of you are there in that kind of a job description? Please raise your hand. So you are technically in the vritti of Vaishya Dharma. Vaishya Dharma, the business category. Vyanika. Then there are those who are into the category of protecting, offering services of safety, implementing the law. So they all come under Kshatriya. Then comes what I call them as the think tank, the visionaries in every field. They envision for not just tomorrow. It is not like the kitchen mindset. Kitchen mindset is like, the green chili is not there, go run get it. Or you just came back and the salt is also, go again get it. You cannot do that on a larger scale, bigger scale. You need to have at least a 5 to 10 year envision the goals where the entire nation can be taken, organization, institution can be steered towards. They are called the visionaries. So based on their karma, and that karma which is based on their guna decides these 4 varnas. What are their karma? Swabhavaja karma. What is the karma of each one of these varna? So the 42nd shloka talks about the Brahmana karma. Shamo damastapa shaucham Kshantirarjavamevacha Jnanam vijnanamastikhyam Brahma karma swabhavajam Shamaha damaha tapaha shaucham kshanti arjavam. These are some of the basic qualities of a Brahmana. Though being born in a Brahmana Kula, if these qualities do not reflect in such an individual, then you can as well not call them a Brahmana. What are the qualities? Shamaha, Damaha, Tapaha. These are called the Shamadamadi Shat Sampatti. Shama, control of mind. Dama, control of organs of perception and action. Uparama, to be able to focus. Uparama you will not find in Bhagavad Gita. I am adding it there. When they say Shama Dama, they are talking about these 9 qualities. It's like Shama Dama, etc. I am talking about that, etc. So So you may look at the meaning and no, it's not there. Yes. So Shama, Dama, Uparama. Uparama, to have focus. Rama, to revel. Uparama, to revel closest to. Closest to what? That which should be the focus of that individual's responsibility at that given time. Now supposing I am here trying to speak, and if I take out my cell phone or do a text message in between, and then wait a second, and then talk to a few people, and then put, how would you feel? You can be open, blunt.
Kshatriya, Swami.
What's that?
Like Kshatriya.
You'll feel me as a Kshatriya or you will become a Kshatriya? You will be irritated, frustrated with that kind of repetitive pattern. You would probably even stop, disengage. Because there is no Uparama. Shama, Dama, Uparama. Titiksha. In the second chapter, we dealt with this point of Titiksha at length. Swamiji, what are you talking? Second chapter, way back then. Can you remind us what is Titiksha? Titiksha usually is translated as endurance. And they say that which cannot be changed, endure it. But Vedanta has a different depth. It says that which is inevitable, don't just endure it, find a method to enjoy it. That ability to go through life without running away from it, buckling up and facing it square and clean. That perseverance, that endurance to go through with a smile on the face. In spite of the overwhelming situation, that capacity is called Titiksha. Shama, Dama, Uparama, Titiksha. Shraddha. Shraddha, it's a very complicated word. There is no immediate English translation to that word. That is the depth of that word. Yeah, we may flippantly say that Shraddha means faith plus trust plus belief plus much more. Like faith plus trust plus belief plus more. And Adi Shankaracharya ji very beautifully explains it in Tattva Bodha as well as in Viveka Chudamani. He says, Shastrasya Guru Vakyeshu Satya Bodhavadharana. Shastra, scriptures. That which the scriptures are indicating about, which is Paramatma. That which is being explained in a pattern which can be understood by that generation in the most applicable manner. The words of the Guru. Shastra, that which the Shastra is pointing, and that who is deciphering the Shastra Vakya so that we can understand. And then finally, Atmeshu, in one's own self. In one's own self, having firm conviction. When all these four join together, that is called Shraddha. So, Shama, Dama, Uparama, Titiksha, Shraddha, and finally is Samadhana. Samadhana is not a Hindi word used, it is a Sanskrit word. Samyak Adhana. Samyak Adhana, to have that kind of fortitude like dharana that we saw, dhruti that we saw. That which I have now complete clarity about, conviction about, not quitting until I reach there. That is when the mind will be at peace. Otherwise, it will be completely restless. And to practice them, all these above stated, to practice them is called tapas, penance. Again, when you take austerities, it is not silly, foolish austerities. I know of he is called Ek Hati Baba. It has got nothing to do with elephants. Ek Hati Baba is, he has 40 years ago put his hand up as a tapas and he has not pulled it down. The joints have frozen. That now when he travels in a bus or a train, he has to bend down because the hand doesn't allow him to stand straight. What is the purpose of that sadhana? Sleeping on bed of nails. Do austerities, and the austerities should be meaningful. So the austerities which help develop shamadama, etc., those are called austerities. Shaucham. Shaucham, purity. And what is called as purity? When thought, word, deed is in alignment with Swadharma. Otherwise, there are people who take, I have purity. Whatever I think, whatever I say, whatever I do, they are in sync. I feel like beating you, I have beaten. Trikarana Shuddhi. No, it has to be in alignment, in tune with Dharma. Such Trikarana Shuddhi is called purity. Kshanti. Not Shanti. Kshanti. Ability to forgive and forget. Has your teeth ever bitten into your own tongue? Lots of times. Did your hands immediately take a hammer and knock some sense into those dirty teeth? No, right? Do you keep remembering it again and again? I will. You said you have forgiven me. Yes, I have forgiven, but not forgotten. Every time that comes, you did it that day, that time, remember? Rubbing it again and again. Kshanti, forgive and forget also. Arjavam. Arjavam, being straightforward. We are also very straightforward as a jalebi. We are straightforward based on our conveniences. If it is convenient, I will be straightforward. It was not a lie, It was not a complete truth also. See, when Yudhishthira says, Ashwathama hataha jaraha, he did not lie. What did he do? He did not state the fact in a factual manner. For that, he had to go to Naraka once. He said one time in his life wherein he hid the facts, for which he went to Naraka. In this very life, how many times have we said what we have said, what we have done, played games around? With that respect, many of us have the audacity when we read our scriptures to point fingers at them. We don't even have a qualification to point fingers at them. Why was Drona like that with, what is his name? Ekalavya. Unfair. What do you know of the story? Have you read any? Dronacharya, when he was employed by Bhishma as a teacher, he had a memorandum of understanding signed. There was a sankalpa which was exchanged. And what was the demand of Bhishma? You shall teach only Kshatriyas here, and those who are not Kshatriya, you shall not teach. And then as a teacher, you have the freedom to teach anybody. But in this school that we will be sponsoring, you will teach only Kshatriyas. The only one that you are allowed to teach who is not a Kshatriya would be your children. Ekalavya approached. He said, I am bound, I cannot teach. So what did Ekalavya do? Every day he would come down onto the outskirts of the ashram, check as to what were being taught, make a note of it, go back home, have an idol of Dronacharya and practice whatever he has seen. He may have good skill, but what he did was called stealing. Take somebody's idea without their permission and implement it elsewhere. What do we call that? Intellectual property infringement. You have stolen somebody's intellectual property. And it is, what kind of a crime is it? That with which you could implement that wisdom, that knowledge that you have stolen, that part can be cut. So if you want to be a ace archer, what do you require? The substratum for an ace archer is thumbs up. So Dronacharya said, please put your thumbs down. Being very dharmic. To understand and to be straightforward with it. So much so, let me ask you another aspect. If you have something very valuable with you, what do you call it? Heirloom? Who would you give that to? Chinmay Mission is going to think of a project here, please. Would you think of donating it? Maybe something else, but not that. Who would you give it to? Family nahi. Focused children. What was it that Dronacharya was holding as the most valuable? His knowledge of the use of warfare and various astra shastras. There is an argument between him and Krupi. Who is Krupi? Mrs. Dronacharya's name is Krupi. This is not fair. You are not giving this which is learnt by you, which you treasure, to your own son. And you know what he says? Though born to me, he is not behaving like a Brahmana. He does not have Kshanti and he is not straightforward. Therefore, I shall not give this knowledge, this wisdom, because he will misuse it. I'll give it only to that one who is qualified. Of the 150 students that were there at that time in Dronacharya's Gurukula, he gave it only to one person, Arjuna. And why was he called Arjuna? Arjavat Arjuna, the one who was straightforward. If there was any crookedness in them, they were not qualified to have that knowledge. Therefore, they were not given that knowledge. And to steal that knowledge is definitely not Brahmanatva. You see, I've been meeting the Sanskrit teachers or the Telugu teachers and the various teachers. So one of my first questions is, where is your syllabus? Because you are using it here, it should not be something that is somebody else's that we should be using. We either should have a permission or we should have the capacity to develop something of our own. Because somebody has put effort. Take their blessings. Otherwise, we don't have the right to use it. That's straightforwardness. And today that is called being not vyavaharik. स्वामी जी आजकल तो सब कुछ चलता है. Everything is okay. You have to learn these things, you know. You cannot be naive. If it is something of that treasured thing, they should have protected it. Since they did not protect it and it was available to me, I used it. What is wrong in it? Do you see the flaw in that logic? It is not being arjava. There is no straightforwardness. And it will subtly start affecting, impacting at a psychological level. Then when you want to do subtler practices of any meditation, japa, puja, there will be no focal point. Why? We have killed it effectively with our own crookedness. Arjava. Jnanam, Vijnanam, Astikyam. There are two very beautiful points. Jnana and Vijnana. Jnana is intellectual knowledge. Vijnana is to translate that intellectual knowledge into wisdom. Knowledge is one aspect. To transform it into wisdom is totally different. I know, but knowing is not being. And that is why when people say, when I go to different houses for food, Swamiji, this first time I cooked only for you. I immediately say, I am allergic to that. Oh, I look like a guinea pig or what? Bali ka bakra. First time, so they experiment. Sannyasi ka experiment. Or when when I see that there are a lot of cookbooks, in those houses also I eat very, very delicately. Why? It is in the pustaka, not in the mastaka. Dangerous. I am not kidding, Baba. I have burnt enough of times. There is this lady who brings the sweet. Okay, Swamiji, eat. I said, I am not interested in sweets. No, this is specially for you. My antenna should have gone up. I should have asked, is it the first time you are cooking? This is a special Mexican dish. And And your job is to find what is it made of. Okay, I took 1 spoon, I could not taste it. So I was forced to take another spoon. It is that, what do you call it here? In Hindi it is called arbi. Chepakaranga. It starts with T. Taro root. Thank you. Taro root. So we made out of that taro root. Now, taro root, if you don't peel the skin properly, and it is slimy, and that skin, if it is still remaining, it will start itching your throat. I had already 3 or 4 spoons of it. It was not properly cleaned. 2 minutes down the lane, the whole thing started itching and swelling. Experiment. Oh, I can tell you many such stories. One thing is, I don't tell anybody's name. Knowing the recipe is jnana. Knowing how well to use that recipe to make something delicious, that is called vijnana. Does it make easy understanding? Sometimes having all the ingredients and the food ready, not knowing how to eat it. You have everything, jnana, but not knowing how to eat it. Experiment it. Bring one of your American friends and give them pani puri. Do you all like pani puri? Experiment with them. And record it. Then take invariably, bite that puri instead of swallowing the entire thing. What will happen? And first of all, you cannot eat it with fork and knife. To have is jnana, to know how to do or what to do with what you have. What to do with what you have is called vijnana. There was this session that I was in, and that day it was hilarious. I usually ask 2 things. Even in this session, I asked for 2 things. What are the 2 things? Initially, first day I always announce. BYOG. Bring your own Bhagavad Gita copy. And then switch off your cell phones. Simple, right? I made that announcement, started, within 5 minutes, this Amma's cell phone rings. Doctor Dattu. So I look at that Amma, I said, Amma, sorry. Then 2 minutes again it rings. Hey, can you turn it off? Yes, sorry. I begin again it rings. I said, Amma, see, either what I am saying is not understood, or you don't know how to use. And she got up and said, it is the second one, Swami. I've been searching since then how to turn it off. I said, okay, bring it. And then, to have is jnana, to know what to do with what you have is called vijnana. everything and everybody, the way we are conditioned, the way we are geared up towards, is to learn about the world outside and to have the ability to make use of that world to our convenience. Little do we spend time. We have amazing equipment. Little do we spend time on the equipment with which you have to deal with that world. The body is undisciplined, the mind is untamed, the intellect is absolutely chaotic because of lack of clarity. And with that equipment, you are now running into the world. You have, but you don't know what to do with it. Jnanam, Vijnanam. So who is a Brahmana? Who has both aspects, Jnana as well as Vijnana. Astikyam, a firm believer in that Supreme. This is called Brahma Karma Swabhavajam. This is for, again, self-evaluation only. Not for evaluating after this week is done, next week, over a cup of tea, all of you sit down and then evaluate the community. Chi, we koi Brahman hai. Shudra se bhi neech hai. This is for self-evaluation only. Now the Kshatra Karma, Kshatriya Dharma. Shauryam Tejo Dhritir Dakshyam.
Shauryam Tejo Dhritir Dakshyam.
Yuddhe Chapya Palayanam.
Yuddhe Chapya Palayanam.
Danamishwara Bhavascha.
Danamishwara Bhavascha.
Kshatram Karma Swabhavajam.
Kshatram Karma Swabhavajam.
This is Kshatra Karma. What is Kshatra Karma? Kshatriya. Shauryam. Shauryam, valor. That kind of strength with which you stand in front of your army, that looking at you, they feel inspired, that they are ready to give up everything of theirs following their leader. To reflect that confidence of valor. Shaurya. Tejaha. Tejaha, brilliant. Brilliant because when you are talking of these armies, especially in the Mahabharata times, do you know on the Mahabharata battlefield, on this particular war, when this message was being given, how many people were standing there? 18 battalions, 18 Akshohini. Each Akshohini had 250,000 people. So 18 times 250,000. How many?
4.5 million.
4.5 million people. Now there were horses, there were elephants, there were chariots. I am not counting them. Just the human count. 4.5 million people were there. And when you are a commander-in-chief, you have to know every nook and corner of your army. On the Kauravas side, there were how many? 11 battalions of army. And on the Pandavas side, there were 7 battalions of army. And who was the commander-in-chief on the Kauravas side? Bhishma, who was about 122 years old or 127 years old. Buddha. Practically from all standpoints. That 127-year-old had the sharpness with which he knew which aspect of his battalions have what kind of strength and when to use what. And that too on the fly. And this is not a mock game. There are real arrows, missiles coming all across. And in that chaos, to maintain balance and to stand firm, you need amazing, excellent brilliance. पता नहीं क्या हो. There was one such character born in a Kshatriya family called Uttara Kumara. He promised his sister Uttara, don't worry, I'll go get it. What did she ask? On every mukuta, on every crown, there is a crown jewel. She asked of about 11 or 12 people's crown jewel. Now to get that crown jewel, you have to first defeat them, incapacitate them, pull their crowns, pull that crown jewel and bring it. He said, don't worry. He goes and regiment comes back. Big army! I don't know what to do. Arjuna, who is in the form of Brihannala, he says, I'll be your charioteer. Takes him out and says, you be the charioteer. And he takes his bow and arrow. The Sammohan Astra, everybody is down. He says, take everybody's crown jewel. There is only one fellow who is acting there, that is Bhishma. He is not impacted with my bow, he is just acting up there. And this fellow goes and touches Bhishma's crown jewel. And he is, hey! And Uttara Kumara drops everything. The brilliance that is required to strategize as things are moving, to come up with something that can beat the opponent's strategy and still stand your firm ground. These were the commanders who would stand ahead of their armies, not hide in some bunker and send their armies, which is today's strategy. Shauryam Tejaha Dhritihi. Dhritihi. It is your responsibility as a Kshatriya to fend for the nation. Rain or shine, to stand there and to fight for the sovereignty of your kingdom is your right. And that is why we hear so many stories of their dhriti, the way they held. There's so many stories which are not taught to us in our syllabuses when we are growing up. There's one particular village where on one side the Muslims were attacking, on one side there were the Britishers attacking, and a village of about 300 families were protected by 13 Sardars. None of them lived to say the story. But none could penetrate these 13 to get inside to hack the other 300 families. They defended it. Dhritihi, to have that firm hold. We make a big deal of 300. There were 300 warriors in that little pass. You know this movie, right?
Yeah.
Yes, no?
Yes.
Either you should know the movie or you should know the game. There's a game also called 300. You have heard of the movie?
Yes.
And they show it with such valor. There are only 13. Two armies. One Muslim army and one the Britishers army. They strategized and defended that can't, it's not a fort, it's a small fort of 300 families. They could not get inside. All 13 were dead. By the time the reinforcements arrived, they saw all these 13 dead and nothing happened to the fort or the people inside. That is called Dhriti. Shauryam tejaha dhritihi daksham. Daksham, dakshata. It is not just for decoration that they have a bow and an arrow, a spear and a sword and various astra shastra. Have I told you what is the difference between astra and a shastra? Astra is a missile, that which is launched to attack. Shastra is something that you hold in your hand and fight, defend or attack. So all these astra shastras that they have, to have dakshata, the ability, the skill to use them efficiently. And Arjuna was called Sabyasachi. Sabyasachi, a good marksman who could use both hands efficiently. He could shoot with both hands. How many of you can write with right hand? How many of you can write with left hand? Shocking. Not even one. How many of you can write with both hands? The reason I took that example was, we used to have a biology teacher. When he would teach, we would eagerly wait for him. And I should say I was blessed to have 3 teachers. One good biology teacher, one good physics teacher, and one good chemistry teacher at the right time. And this biology teacher was so efficient. I would come to the class, and when she would explain things, she would not use slides or anything. She would draw all these cell structure, and sometimes when they are to be drawn, she would draw with both hands. Those which are asymmetric, she would draw. Those who are symmetric, she would draw with both hands. Amazing skill. Sabyasachi, with both hands. Have dakshata meaning capacity, skill. Not just to use the instruments, but also to have the dakshata to understand when is it good to attack, when is it good to defend, when is it not to respond, and how to administer the kingdom. That capacity is called dakshata. Administrative capacity. Wherein a good king takes advice from all his ministers. Being impartial, understanding the situation, makes the decision, and taking that decision is called dakshata. And then, as if pricking onto Arjuna, he says, Yuddhe chapya palayanam. And a Kshatriya's foremost dharma is to not run away from the battlefield, Arjuna. Sun rahe ho? Are you listening? You are a Kshatriya, I suppose, right? You are planning to run. To not run is a Kshatriya's dharma. You had the opportunity to lay your arms down and not be a part of this war. You are raring to go. Having come to the battlefield, then saying, I want to quit. Too bad, that option is already gone. Now stand up and fight. Dhanam. Dhanam, to have the magnanimity that even the Shatru respects you. There was one Field Marshal Cariappa. Have you heard of him? His son was in Indian Air Force. This was in the 1970s when that war happened. His flight was shot down and he was captured by Pakistan. Their lieutenant commander had met with Cariappa. And when he heard his last name, that he was son of Cariappa, he immediately called. He said, I am such and such. Oh, he said, I recognize you. We have captured your son, and by next flight we are sending him back to Delhi. So he said, why this special treatment? Because you know me. When he signed up to be a part of this nation's army, he was relieved from the responsibility of being my son. Either you release all the prisoners of war, or you do what you do with your prisoners of war. Are you getting the idea? Now, with this firm standpoint, the Lieutenant General was shaken up. Now, what kind of a father? That I am letting go his son, and he says, no, you give an equal treatment. I need all my soldiers or none. And this story was not told by Cariappa. It was told by that Lieutenant General when he retired. That he released all the prisoners of war just because of the commitment that he saw in this Lieutenant Field Marshal Cariappa. And he was retired by then. Dhanam. To know how graciously you can win or how graciously you can accept defeat. Ishvara Bhava. This Ishvara Bhava, the only example that strikes in my head is the king Puru when he was captured by Alexander. Anybody that Alexander captured, especially the kings, he would execute them, and their soldiers, he would give them an option either to join him or to be executed. So Alexander asked him, how do you want me to treat you? And Puru, who is chained, he says, nothing less than a king. What gives you the courage to speak like this? He said, you shot my poor animal, the elephants. The Indian side had a lot of elephants, and the invaders led by Alexander did not have elephants. They strategized to scare these elephants and then kill those elephants. So the battle that you just won was not on the capacity of your skill, but it was won on the incapacity of the elephants. If you really care to declare yourself as a war winner, right here, right now, I challenge you for a duel. I mean, he didn't take up the challenge. Ishvara Bhava. Ishvara Bhava, that Hindi translated, सर कटा सकते हैं लेकिन सर झुका सकते नहीं. That I am ready to lay my life for what I believe in, but not stoop down to lick somebody else's shoes. Ishvara Bhava. These are called Kshatra Karma Swabhavajam. Now what is the Vaishya Karma and Shudra Karma? That is given in the next shloka. Krishi Gaurakshavanijyam. Let us repeat that again. Krishi Gaurakshavanijyam. Vaishya Karma Swabhavajam. Paricharyatmakam Karma. Shudrasyapi Swabhavajam. Krishi Go Raksha. Go, not English go. Go means cows and the cattle. To protect them. And there is so much that can be said about cow and cow protection. And first of all, eating meat is not prescribed as a sattvic way of lifestyle in Hinduism. On the top of it, killing go. What is the other word that goes along with go? Mata. Go Mata is like a mother. Why? Every aspect of this cow and its existence is purely for the benefit of entire humanity. And one doesn't kill their own mother for their survival. And today, I won't say it is even for survival, it is purely for the fun of it. What are the different things that we use from the cow? Milk. The yogurt made from that milk. And then the ghee that is butter and ghee that is made. They say, and now I think the researchers are turning around. Earlier they used to say, don't eat ghee, you will have cholesterol. Now they are saying, eat ghee, ghee is good. Ayurveda says very clearly that, what is the word? Ghritam, ghritena vardhate ayuhu. Ghritam meaning ghee. Now, there are various kinds of ghee. Ghritam specifically speaks about the ghee made from cow's milk. And anything, ati sarvatra varjayet. It is not like when they say eat ghee, you have desi ghee ka laddu, desi ghee ka jalebi, everything dubified in ghee, and then about a spoon, a tablespoon. To take 2 tablespoons. When this tablespoon is for an adult. Per meal. Per meal. Is healthy. Vardhate ayu. And when the cow dies, what happens to the skin? Cow hide becomes footwear or any other various things that a footwear is used. The cow's bones, the cow's horns, they are used as medicine. There is an Ayurvedic doctor, we can ask her. Every aspect of the cow, and cow dung. The entire house, walls, front, everything was smeared with cow dung, which would protect them from all kinds of germs, viruses, bacteria. Yeah, the kids are like, ew, cow poop? Yeah, the cow dung was used, and that would keep them safe. Then Gomutra, the cow urine is also used in medicine. Different kinds of allergies on the skin, rashes or eczemas. Cow urine is a good medicine. There is one which the allopathy does not have a medicine. Psoriasis? Cow urine is a good medicine for that. The doctors, wherever. And it's called Go Panchakam. These 5, they are actually used for various medicinal purposes. And when you perform the Yajna, Yaga, Karma, they are used as purification purposes, internally and externally. It is that Sreshta. When you take any medicine in the allopathic terms, every medicine has got a certain side effects. Ayurveda does not have side effects. And major ingredient, the contribution comes from the cow. Go Raksha. In fact, the entire strength of a kingdom was ascertained by the number of cows that are there in that kingdom. How well established and how progressive that kingdom is was ascertained by the number of cows that were there. Go Raksha. And whose responsibility was it? The responsibility of Vaishya. Vanijya. Vanijya is the economy through import, export, sales. That was the responsibility of the Vaishya. Paricharyatmakam karma, and all other kinds of skilled labor are Shudra. Now, skilled labor, the mason is a skilled labor. Carpenters, skilled labor. Blacksmith, potter, dhobi, washerman, they are all skilled laborers. Can you give me 1 or 2 examples?
Goldsmith.
Goldsmith doesn't come under skilled labor. It's a different business. It is under the subsidiary of Vaishyas.
Office work.
Farming, the farmers. To employ these people was the Vaishya. But who is working? Those who plow, those who take care of the farming, was that is a skilled labor. Now, one thing that I want to clarify in whatever time that I have is we have been constantly trained, tutored, conditioned to misunderstand our Varna Dharma, that when I ask the next question, I will not be surprised with the answer. That when we talk about untouchables in our caste system, which one of these 4 are the untouchables?
No one.
So you attended my other lecture. None of the 4 are the untouchables. Without the mason, you cannot live in a house. Without the carpenter, you don't have doors and windows. And these are equally allowed into temples or wherever, all kinds of rituals. Then who is the untouchable? Untouchables are often referred to as Panchama Varna, the fifth. Now, before I explain the untouchability aspect for our own clarity, what is the population of US?
350 million. 350 million.
But 330 million is the population. What percentage of US population is in the prison system? It is a shocking, woofing number of about 10%. So 10% of 330 million is about 33 million. It's a staggering number. You didn't know that? Now there are studies of these 33 million. More than 3/4 of them are either black or Mexican. Of those blacks and Mexican, there are people who are in the judicial system or the prison system who have not gone through the process yet, and that is about 15%. Their cases are still pending, and they have been there for 4 or 5 years. This is not a commentary on the prison system here. Now, when you have a population of 330 million, you have the criminal section, which is about 10%. Indian subcontinent has always had a very healthy climatic condition, so its population has always been overwhelming. That's one thing, that between India and China, we have world's 1/4 population. We have world's 1/4 population. In the Indian recent census, it's though it is funny, but I don't see it as fun. Do you know what is the population of India?
1.2 million.
1.3 million, 1.2 million,
3 million.
billion. So they say that Indian population is 1.3 billion plus or minus about 0.3. It's about 3 or 4. 300 or 400 million is plus or minus. Plus I can understand, minus I can understand, plus or minus, it's a very confusing state. But on average, 1.3 billion. Now with that 1.3 billion, which has always been, it may not have been 1.3, but it must be somewhere in millions. Any one of the Varna, whether he is Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya or Shudra, when they perform when they commit certain crimes, which awards them either death penalty or banishment from the kingdom. So many kings, out of their goodwill, instead of killing, they banished, they marked them, branded them, and they banished them. With the expectation, with the instruction that the time that has been, the life that has been spared to you, the purpose of it is to do your prayaschitta. Now these people who were banished to the forests or outside the kingdom, with the Indian population, can you imagine? Definitely would be a sizable number. And instead of their prayaschitta, they started developing colonies and families outside. Now, to understand the criticality of it, let me take a live example. If today in your neighborhood there is a known criminal, a pedophile, wants to come and settle in your community, I'm letting that point sink into your hearts. A known criminal, a pedophile, come and settle in your community. What would be your reaction as a community member? I can't hear unless you say it loud.
Not to let them settle.
To not let them settle in that community, in your community. Am I hearing it right? Is it okay to do that? Legal to do that? Is it humane to do that? Now, while we talk about the asprishyata, the untouchability of our past, we take such a high horse of standard and we make a statements like, this Varna Dharma, it's wrong, and we should have accepted them, we should have. Okay, let the past tomorrow go. Present. A known criminal, a pedophile, living in your community, you yourself said that you will not allow them settle in your community. Let alone them settling in your community. Would you allow your children to play with their children? Would you allow your children to get married to their children? Am I hearing an emphatic no?
Yes.
Just to give you a stark naked truth, that those who were branded, kicked out of the community, when their children wanted to come and settle after a generation or two, what would be their condition psychologically speaking? Don't take the high horse. What should have happened, I know, I agree. As a human being, how would we react? I'm not saying justifying whether it is right or wrong. I'm talking of the human mindset and human reactionary patterns.
Should treat them the same.
Suspicious. But the kings were benevolent enough to give them menial jobs. Those are the untouchable ones. Those who were not allowed into the society. Those who are not allowed to use the common things that the entire society could use. Those were the untouchables. Shudras are never the untouchables. They are the ones who build your temples. They are the ones who construct the dhwaja. In laying that dhwaja stamba in a temple, the main, the flag post, that job was given to the Shudras. But it has been constantly trained and taught to us that Shudras are the untouchables. I was taken to a Broadway show. It was that Bombay Dreams or Bombay Calling, one of those A.R. Rahman's. Bombay Dreams? There were all these Americans singing Desi songs, so you could find nobody but Desis in those Broadways. The premise of that Broadway was, in the slums of Bombay, there is this talented young artist belonging to the Shudra family who is untouchable. And right from the first premise that was said, my mind was reacting. Idiots like we are sitting there, watching the show, clapping that it was an awesome show, which is made on a premise which we are not even aware is a wrong premise. And you are bringing along, tagging along American friends, showing them that yes, the Shudras are untouchable and we were doing it. So whenever people talk about casteism or questions about caste, I said, we don't even have the right to ask a question because we don't have a clarity what we are asking about. Do I make sense? Now tomorrow I'll give you the holistic picture of these four at different levels. So please do not miss tomorrow. Even today by mistake you may have come. Continue the mistake tomorrow. So that whatever I have triggered today about the Varna Dharma, which is a major confusion.
Yes, true.
So much that when a question of this order is asked to a Indian, a Hindu, we feel so ashamed not knowing what to do. We say, I am a Hindu but I am only following its philosophy, not its rituals. Stop cutting a sorry figure. Learn. Knowledge is your strength. So don't miss tomorrow. Am I clear? Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om